Welcome, Dice Stormers. Thanks for joining us again here at Facebook for another adventure driven by you. We're giving away 10 copies of Escape the Underdark by Matt Forbeck. Thanks to the folks at Candlewick Press. Also thanks to Derek's mate Nick for the excellent intro video. The sounds that you will hear throughout this adventure are provided by Sirenscape. To enter, click the link below and sign up to our Twitter, Twitch or YouTube channels. Don't worry, if you're already a subscriber, your vote will still count. As we play through Matt's adventure, we will come to decision points. When we arrive at these decision points, we will put a poll on the Facebook post, and you, the audience, will decide what direction to take. Our fates are in your hands. So, if you're ready, let's begin. The last you remember, you were in a tavern, about to embark on your new career as an adventurer. A pale dwarf in a hooded cloak had sat you down to have a drink while he offered you a map to a dungeon he claimed was packed with treasure and chests ripe for plundering. But then the room got fuzzy and started to spin. You nodded off right there at the table, and the next you knew, you woke up here. Only you're not exactly sure where here is. It's cold, dark, and dank, and the floor is nothing but bare, rough-hewn rock. So are 3 of the walls, but the 4th holds a heavy-looking door with a small barred window just big enough to see out of. You sit up, and the chains that connect the manacles on your wrists to the belt locked around your waist jangle. You swallow hard and realize that an iron collar is constricting your neck. You groan, although you're not sure if it's from the pain in your head or the despair in your heart. As you do, a black-skinned male with long white hair and elven features, a drow, clearly, although you've never met one before, appears at the window in the door, a torch blazing in his hand. "Finally awake, are you?" he says with a vicious grin that bares his sharp white teeth. "Welcome to Velkenvelve." Where? A shiver runs down your spine, and you realize just how much trouble you're in. "The Underdark," a voice says behind you. You spin around and see that you're not alone in your cage. In fact, there are several others trapped here with you. A deep gnome, an orc, a dwarf, and even a battered drow. The dwarf was the one who spoke to you. The others don't even meet your gaze. "You're trapped in the Underdark," she says, "enslaved by the drow. And there's no way out," the orc growls, "so don't bother trying to escape." The guard laughs at the look of growing horror on your face, and then walks away to let you stew in it. You scramble after him and grab the bars on the window of the door. You try to rattle them, testing their strength, but they're as solid as the rock that surrounds you. "Just like an orc to give up, Ront," the dwarf's voice drips with scorn. The orc snorts at her. "Just like a dwarf to not know when she's beat, Eldith." "I'm not beat," you tell them all. "Not yet, at least. There has to be some way out of here." The deep gnome laughs at you. "We're stuck in a giant spider-infested cavern, a half-mile beneath the surface of Faerun. None of us even know how we got here, and they work us so hard that the only thing we're good for afterward is sleeping it off." "If you can find out a way out, though, we'll follow," Eldith says, her eyes brimming with her last bit of hope. You decide to observe closely and seize the soonest chance to break out of your cage. But the next morning, Eldith tells you that time is short. "The guards say that a merchant caravan is arriving from Menzoberranzan in a week or so. They'll take us all away." She hushes when the guards come to escort you and the others off to your first day of work. They set you to breaking big rocks into smaller ones. When no one's looking, you grab a handful of gravel and stuff it into your pocket. A plan for escape is starting to form in your mind. Your arms are so sore and your hands blistered when the guards haul you back to your cell. You stumble against the door as you enter and shove a chunk of gravel into the door's lock so it can't close properly. As the door clangs shut, You spin around and throw yourself against it to keep the guards from inspecting it. The guards laugh as you reach for them through the barred window. "A lot of spirit in that one of them says. "We'll have to beat it out of him." You snarl at them, but they walk away laughing. Once they're out of sight and you can no longer hear their footsteps echoing around the passageways outside of your cell, you test the door and find that it swings free. The other prisoners gasp in amazement, but you silence them with a finger to your lips. "Who's with me?" you ask. "What about the guards?" Ront says.
"You'll never get past them,"
The battered drow prisoner, whom you've come to know is named Sareth, says with a chuckle.
"Not without a distraction." "Fortunately, there's one on the way,"
interjects the deep gnome, who's told you his name is Jimjar as he steps forward, stroking his thin beard. "What are you talking about?" Eldith demands. Jimjar shoots her a wary look.
"I'm a scout."
"A spy, you mean?" says Sareth. Jimjar ignores him.
"I was on my way back home to Blindenstone when I was captured. The drow never would have caught me normally, but I was in a hurry to report in."
Why? You wonder what could scare Jimjar so much that he'd let himself stumble into a pack of drow slavers. "What news did you have?"
"Something is stirring up deep in the Underdark," Jimjar says with a shiver. "Something evil."
"Heard rumours about that too," Ront says. "Some kind of demon war." "What has that have to do with us?" you ask. You don't have long to make your way out of here, and you don't care to waste time on idle gossip.
The war is boiling over," Jimjar says. "It's rising up through the Underdark."
"And you think it's going to reach here tonight?" Jimjar shrugs.
"Should have been here already. Might never come at all. Who's to know what's being planned in the deepest parts of the Underdark?"
"You're not much help."
You're leaving either way, right?"
Jimjar points at the door with his chin.
"What's stopping you?"
You push on the door and it swings open quietly on well-oiled hinges. "Nothing," you say. "What's stopping the rest of you?" The others stare at you in the open door for a long moment. Then a horrible screech echoes in the distance. Jimjar smiles and taps his ear.
"Demons," he says. "Right on time."
"Now's your chance," you tell the others. "Let's go."
"We need to get rid of our shackles first,"
Jimjar says. He pulls a lockpick from inside his cheek and sets to work. In a few moments you're all free. Somewhere in the distance, drow soldiers shout, but the horrible screams only grow louder.
"We should go north,"
Jimjar suggests as he bolts from the cell. "To Menzo Berenzan," Ron says. "Forget it. South." "Toward Gracklestew," Eldith shakes her head. "I'd rather take my chances with the drow than the Durigar." Jimjar chuckles at them.
"Either way works for me, just as long as we get out of here."
He looks to you to decide.
"So, champ, which way is it?"
And here we arrive at our first decision point. Do we head north toward Menzo Berenzan, or do we head south towards Gracklestew? Thanks for joining us. The poll should have appeared for you to vote on which way our characters should go next. Chapter 2 will be up in a few days, so please follow the Facebook page to be notified when it appears. Welcome, Dice Stormers, to episode 2 of our playthrough of Escape the Underdark by Matt Forbeck. We're giving away 10 copies, thanks to the people at Candlewick Press. The link to enter is in the description. Don't worry, if you're already a subscriber or a follower, your entry will still count. Last episode, we had the choice of heading north to Menzo Berenzan or south to Gracklestew. The poll said north, to the spider's web, so get comfortable, but not too comfortable, and let's play Escape the Underdark. North it is, you say, as you emerge from the cell. They'll never expect us to head towards Menzo Berenzan, 'cause it's a stupid idea, Ront says. I'm appalled to have to agree with an orc, Sareth says as he joins Ront in turning south. I thought for sure you'd join us, you tell the drow. There's nothing for me back home, he says with a bitter frown. I was imprisoned here because I was accused of murder. The only thing waiting for me in Menzoberranzan is drow justice. He glances at Ront. I'll take my chances in the wilds of the Underdark instead. With that, he and Ront dash off in the other direction, leaving you with Eldith and Jimjar. You gesture towards the Deep Gnome. You're the scout here. Show us the way. Jimjar sniffs the air and points to the east. Brimstone. That means demons. Then he pads off to the north. You follow close on his heels, and Eldith trots after you. You hear the shouts and screeching fading in the distance as you move, and you begin to hope that there might be a chance for this day to end well for you after all. Then an arrow lances out of the darkness and catches Eldith in the chest. She screams in pain as she falls, and you spot a trio of well-armed drow guards charging your way. Jimjar takes off at a sprint. You glance down at Eldith, but she's already dead. Another arrow spangs along the passageway, and you turn and chase after Jimjar as fast as you can. You do your best to keep up with Jimjar, but he has too much of a head start on you. You lose the Deep Gnome in the darkness, and soon after that, you lose yourself as well. You try to comfort yourself with the fact that you've escaped the drow, but the fact that you're alone and defenseless in the dark balances against that. As your eyes adjust, though, you realize that the Underdark isn't entirely dark. Bits of lichen on the walls give off a soft glow that's enough to walk by, if not run. Still, that doesn't stop you from stumbling the moment the walls around you give way as the passage you're in opens wide into a gigantic cavern. You tumble off the edge of the cliff and shout in fear as you fall into the darkness. You expect to fall to your death, but instead you find yourself caught in a massive spider web that stretches over the cavern's distant floor like a sticky net. You hope that whatever spun the web isn't near enough to have heard you and come looking for you to make you its prey. Instead, a moment later, a pair of young goblins emerge from the darkness, sliding along the web on slippery feet, faster than you could walk on it. They begin giggling at you.
You look lost,
one of them says.
Real lost, says the other. Maybe we should let this poor human be, brother.
No, you say before they have a chance to leave. You're right. I'm lost, and I need help finding my way out.
What do you think, Yuck Yuck? One of the goblins says to the other. Sounds like it might not be boring, at least. Why not, Spiderbait? The other one responds. Unboring is good for me. All right, Spiderbait says with a grin.
He points to the right.
That way's Menzoberranzan, which we don't have anything to do with. Those drow are too nasty.
Yuck Yuck points to the left.
And that way's Darklake. Which way seems the most unlost for you?
The two goblins run ahead of you, guiding you through the gigantic web-bridged chasm, which seems to go on for miles. There are moments when they disappear so thoroughly that you're sure they've abandoned you. But they always return a moment later, gliding in and out of the darkness to check and see if you're okay.
Most people think that the silken paths are crazy dangerous,
Yuck Yuck says as he slides across the web on greased feet, far faster than you can walk. Spiderbait chuckles at that.
Sure, it's full of monsters, but what part of the Underdark isn't? Just got to know where to step.
To their credit, the goblins do a great job of getting you safely across the chasm. Once you move back into the tunnels and caverns that make up most of the rest of the Underdark, though, it becomes clear that they're out of their depth. They stop and argue about which way to go several times, and in the end, they rely on your instincts to guide them. They're not the best navigators, but since it's nice to have their company in this dark and scary place. Soon enough, you find that the walls of the passageways through which you're creeping are damp. Some of them drip or even run with water. Hoping to stay dry, you try not to touch the walls as you go, but it is so tight in some places that you are soon soaked to the bone.
Good sign, Yuck Yuck says. We're getting closer to Dark Lake. Sure we're not under it? Spiderback asks. He's just nervous enough to frighten you too, but you don't have much choice except to continue on. Yuck Yuck giggles at your fear. Don't worry about it, he says. If the lake comes crashing down on us, we won't have time to suffer. You repress the urge to snarl at the goblin and keep pressing on until the ceiling above you starts to creak. You stop in your tracks and raise your eyes to the ceiling. As you peer through the dim light, you can see a large crack already starting to form in the stones. Spiderbait grabs you by the hand and hauls you along. We gotta move, he says. Fast! You nearly trip as he yanks you into motion, but you just manage to keep your footing. The creaking sound turns into a cracking noise, and then a horrible rumbling you can feel all the way through your toes. Cave in! Yuck Yuck yells. Run! You sweep both of the goblins up into your arms and charge forward as fast as you can. The ceiling begins to come down around you, and for a moment you're sure this will be the end. Buried in the Underdark, no one will ever even hear of your daring escape from your captors. You dash forward, dodging debris cascading from above. You come around a bend and see that the passageway you're in opens up into a small cavern. Move it! Spiderbait shouts. We can make it! You put one final surge of energy into your leaden legs and race forward. As you near the opening, the sound of the collapse becomes deafening. You dive forward through the opening and sail through it just as the passageway behind you disappears in a cloud of rubble and dust. As you and the goblins cough your lungs clear, you look up and spot a skeleton floating in the air before you, along with a sword and shield. They look like they should be falling to the floor along with the rubble that landed behind you, but they just hang there, suspended in something. You start to back away, not too sure what this new horror is. Then a voice sounds in your head, a voice that's not your own. Greetings, it says. I am Glabagool. You realize then that the skeleton, sword, and shield are floating inside a transparent, gelatinous cube. You stand up and stare at the cube creature. In its depths you spy a floating pair of eyes staring back at you. You can talk, you say? Telepathically, Glabagool says. Can you hear it too, you ask the goblins? They nod wordlessly, gaping at the floating skeleton. I mean you no harm, the gelatinous cube says. Tell that to whoever's floating inside you, says Yuck Yuck, with disgust pulling at his lip. Glabagool quivers with regret. He wouldn't stop attacking me. I had no choice. You clap the goblins on the shoulders and hold them steady in your grasp. Point us in the direction of Dark Lake, and we'll be on our way, you tell Glabagool. Oh, that's easy. Just follow me. The creature moves slowly but surely through the passages, which are carved out from living rock, forming some kind of abandoned temple. Eventually, you and the two goblins, led by the cube creature Glabagool, reach a larger chamber with a hole in the ceiling, through which water is pouring. Once the chamber floods, Glabagool explains, you should be able to swim out of here. It seems to take forever, but you wait until the chamber fills with water, and then swim up to the hole in the top. You can reach the ceiling just fine, but you have to boost the goblins up. Once they're safe, you climb out after them. The Dark Lake should be close, Glabagool thinks at you. Just follow the water. Thanks for your help, you say to the gelatinous cube. I'll never forget you. Nor I you. After all, you're the only person I've ever met who hasn't tried to kill me. You try not to think too much about that as you follow the goblins, who have already scampered into the darkness. You find them sitting on the shore of a vast underground lake that seems to stretch forever. It could almost be pretty if you weren't so desperate to get out of this place. We're stuck, Yuck Yuck says. Nothing but water behind us and nothing but water ahead, says Spiderbait. Realizing that the Goblin brothers are right, You sit down next to the goblins and stare out at the water, waiting for your eyes to adjust to the darkness and considering your options. There are things in the water that glow softly and move with a slow and sinuous grace. Beautiful as they are, you can't help but wonder if they might eat you if you try to swim for it. The goblins tense and dig their fingers into your arms. Ow! Stop it! You cry. Look! Spiderbait whispers. It's right there! You squint into the darkness and you see a silhouette outlined against the glowing things in the water. It's vaguely human-shaped, but with the head of a gigantic fish. It rises out of the dark lake and approaches you slowly. Greetings, air breathers, it says in a burbling voice. I am Ploopeen of the Kuotor, who call Dark Lake home. You seem lost. You don't see any reason to lie about that. Can you help us, you ask? Of course, Ploopeen says, but only if you'll help me take over my hometown. Aha, and we've reached our next poll. We can choose to do anything or not trust Ploopeen. Thank you for joining us and for all your shares, likes and comments. The poll should have appeared. Please choose do anything or don't trust the creature, but choose wisely. We realise that our character, the fighter, does not have a name, so in the comments section, please give our character a name and a backstory, and we'll see you again to escape the Underdark. Welcome, Dice Stormers, to episode 3 of Escape the Underdark. Thank you, as always, for your likes, shares and comments. They mean more to us than you can know. Our poll has resoundingly called for us to do anything. We have also named our adventurer, Quaran Trueheart, and you can read his backstory in the previous video's comments. Our thanks to Vernon Fram for the suggestion. Please click the link below to enter the competition, and then you too can join us as we escape the Underdark. You don't want to get involved in Kuotoan politics, but you don't see how you have much of a choice. You nod your agreement, and Ploopeen shows you a wide-mouthed grin that displays rows of small, sharp teeth. Excellent, the fishman said. Then, as part of my grand rules, I will bring you into our city, Shloop Udup, as my prisoners, and I will allow you to be sacrificed on the altar of the Deep Father. I don't like this plan, Yuck Yuck says, and you don't blame him. Ploopeen dismisses the goblin's protest with a wave of a finny hand. There's no need for your concern. You will not be harmed. Once you are in place, you simply need to fight back against the guards there. I will take advantage of that distraction to launch a coup against the leaders and my daughter. Sounds dangerous, Spiderbait says. And tricky. Far less dangerous than sitting out here at the edge of the Dark Lake, Ploopeen says, or trying to cross the waters on your own. He puts his slimy hands on his hips. If I wished to harm you, I could easily just kill you here and now, or I could wait for you to die on your own. Ploopeen gazes into your eyes with his wide black orbs. You help me out now, and I'll help you later. You have my word. All right, you say. The goblins both object, but you shush them fast. We don't have much of a choice. Wise decision, Ploopeen says, flashing his sharp teeth again. I'll be right back with a boat for you, and we leave immediately. While the Kuotoan is gone, you reassure the goblins that you're not blindly trusting him. Just be ready to follow my lead, you tell them. Soon after, you find yourself slipping into the town of Shloop Udup on little more than a wooden raft towed by Ploopeen. Ahoy the town! He shouts as the raft brings you in. I have captives! A group of warriors line the dock and eye you warily as they greet their leader. Ploopeen brings you and the two goblins to the shrine of the Sea Mother, which looks like someone took apart a giant crayfish
and used it to decorate a 9-foot-tall statue.
"Gaze at her beauty," he says. "She shall save us all." "Sacrilege!"
and cries another Kuotoan, arriving with a large force of warriors.
"Such outsiders belong not to the Sea Mother, but to the Deep Father." "You dare too much, daughter," Plupin says. "You cannot have these warm bloods for your evil sacrifices, and you cannot stop progress."
Plupin sticks out his lower lip as if he is considering the situation.
"Fine, bloop plib plod," he says to his daughter. "Take them, and may your deep father choke on them."
Bloop Blib Plod and her warriors escort you and the goblins to a shrine made of a pair of dead octopuses tied together atop a dead manta ray that stretched over a hide covering a low altar.
"Ew,"
Spiderbait says with a shudder. His brother shushes him, but you can see that Yuck Yuck is shivering too. As Bloop Blip Plod is bringing you up to the stinking altar, Plupin steps forward and clobbers her over the head. The warriors on his side level their spears at her supporters and attack. You kick one Kuotoan over, snatch away its spear, and then you enter the fight yourself. An enemy warrior charges at you, but you tackle him onto the altar and pin him there with the spear. For a moment he looks at you in horror, but as his blood starts to spill onto the altar, a smile plays on his lips, sending a shiver down your spine. You turn from him to find a full-on battle raging around you, pitting Kuotoa against one another. Yuck Yuck and Spiderbait are hiding behind the altar, and you stand guard over them, keeping them safe from the brawl. The warriors are all too busy with one another to pay attention to you. Just as Bloop Plid Plod comes to, rises on wobbly legs and turns towards you, a horrifying rumble comes from the direction of Dark Lake.
"He is risen!"
Bloop Plid Plod shouts as she stabs a long, slimy finger towards the most distant parts of the Dark Lake.
"Lemagoo has come!"
"What's a Lemagoo?" says Spiderbait. He asks his brother as Yuck Yuck clings to your legs. You peer into the darkness, and somewhere out there you see a hellish light erupt from the water. Another one follows it soon after, and the two lights move in sync with each other, like two glowing eyes floating in a gigantic skull. As the humongous beast grows closer, it slaps at the water with two tremendous tentacles, each split about halfway down. Soon you can see that the two lights are actually mouths set in twinned heads, each glowing from the fires burning within the belly of the shared torso. Demogorgon, you say. They mean Demogorgon. According to my sources back home, he's a demon prince from the abyss, and the Kuotoa have just summoned him. This must be what brought the demons to Valkenveld, you realize. Demogorgon has been preparing to attack the Underdark for a while, and now you're right in his path. And so we have arrived at another pole. We have three choices: fight, flee, or trick the Demogorgon. Thanks for watching, and thank you to Candlewick Press for the copies of Matt's book that we are giving away. Join us next time and see if we can escape the Underdark. Hello, it's Murray from the Dice Stormers here. This is a little bit different from normal because we are in fact streaming this live on Facebook. And of course we are at the final episode of our read-through of Escape the Underdark from Candlewick Press, written by Matt Forbeck. So thanks to them, thanks to Dungeons & Dragons for this. We're going to draw the entrance and you'll be sent an email for the successful people who have entered our competition to win a copy. So congratulations to you in advance. There'll be comments later. Now, when we left our intrepid adventurer, he was facing a Demogorgon because he worked out that the Kuotoa Lemogorgon meant Demogorgon. So we had the option to fight, to flee, or to attempt to trick the Demogorgon. And you, in the posts, decided that we would try and trick the Demogorgon. Are you ready? Let's see if we can escape the Underdark. You don't see any good way out of this. If you stand and fight the Demogorgon, he's sure to kill you along with everyone else. But can you possibly outrun such a creature? If he wants to slaughter you, there's nothing you can do about it. But maybe you can make it so he doesn't want to kill you after all. As the demon prince cuts his way through the worshippers that rush to greet him, you grab hold of the spear you thrust through the Kuatoan who died on the altar at your hand. Is that what finally brought the beast forth from the depths of Darklake? Or were Blip-Plid-Plod's entreaties always going to draw him here? You have no way of knowing, but you're ready to stake everything on the off chance that the demon might have some shred of gratitude towards you. Even if he's not showing any of Blip-Plid-Plod and her warriors right now any thanks. You shush the goblins who are still curled up beneath the altar, clinging to each other and shivering in fear. Whatever you do, don't make a sound, you tell them, no matter what you hear me say or do. If we're lucky, the Demogorgon might not even notice you, but if you make too much noise, he will. The goblins fall silent, and you hear not a word of protest from them. You watch as Plupine leads his warriors against the demon prince, knowing none of them have a chance. Part of you wants to leap forward and join the battle, but you know the only thing that will bring you is a quick and painful death. Once the Demogorgon finishes off all the Kuatoan and all the warriors in Shloop-Blood-Doop, he turns his fearsome attention to you. As he approaches the altar, you leap atop it and fall on your knees, head bowed, still holding tight to your spear. The prince snickers once, and one of his heads says, "What madness is this?" Keeping your eyes on the ground, you answer the demon prince's question by shouting, "All hail Demogorgon, undisputed prince of demons!" Gesturing toward the Kuatoan you've skewered to the altar, you add, "Please accept my humble offering and spare my worthless life." The gigantic demon chuckles at your words. "Such boldness from such a lowly creature." His left head rumbles. "It offers us that entertainment at least. But does it give us loyalty?" the right head asks. "It's one thing to bring us the corpse of a fishman, but we have all those we could ever need. What about its heart?" "Shall we pluck that from its chest to find out?" the left head says. "It seems like such a waste." The Demogorgon leans down, lifts your chin up with its scaly clawed tentacle until you are looking into its faces. "Pledge your eternal loyalty to us," the demon prince says, "and we shall consider your offer." You stare the Demogorgon straight in both of his fiery faces and say, "Who would be so foolish as to lie to the demon prince of lies? I would not flatter myself to think I might be able to deceive the great deceiver, not even for a moment." "Ha!" the head on the left says. "Speaking of flattery, it will get you nowhere. Do you really think we're that stupid?" The head on the right says, "Wait a minute. Give him the chance to speak." The left head turns to the right and scowls at it in disbelief. "You do this every time," it says. "You let these mortals lie to you, and then you lap it up like you're starving for attention." The right head arches an indignant eyebrow at the other. "And you never give anyone the benefit of the doubt. You think I don't know when someone's lying to us? You think I don't? In this case, it's obvious. Of course he's lying to us. What does it matter? I think you'd appreciate watching someone besides us do some lying for once in a while. Why can't you ever just sit back and appreciate a decent lie for once? Is crushing this fool immediately so important that you can't manage to toy with him for a bit for our own amusement? You've grown so cold." "I have not!" The left head smacks the other with his tentacle. "Shut up!" "That's enough!" the right head says as it brings down the nearest tentacle up and wraps it around the other's throat. "I've had it with you! You've crossed the line! I won't be tolerated any longer!" The two tentacles begin thrashing at the two heads. You step back, stunned at your luck. You edge away quietly from the Demogorgon, beckoning Yuck Yuck and Spiderbait to follow. You race to the back of the cavern as the Demogorgon battles with himself. To your surprise, you find Ploopine there, trying to sneak away from the fight too.
Well done, he says to you. I thought that for sure we were finished.
Which way to the surface, you ask him. Ploopine stands there for a moment as the Demogorgon continues to tear his town apart.
I'll take you there myself. There's nothing for me here now.
Then the Kuatoan charges into the darkness with Spiderbait, Yuck Yuck, and you on his tail. You escape the Demon Lord's wrath and continue up, up, up. Days later, you finally near the surface, and Ploopine points you towards a shaft of sunlight blazing down from above.
Go,
he says, putting his hands on the goblin's shoulders.
I'll take care of these, small fry.
The goblins give you a group hug and send you on your way to sunshine and freedom. Congratulations! We have escaped the Underdark and faced all sorts of creatures. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for your likes, comments, subscribes. We'd love for you to join us on the other platforms that the Dice Stormers perform on. Sometimes not in costume, but some of us quite like that. Thank you so much, and hopefully we can do this again. I am Murray from the Dice Stormers.